at Stanford University.
Please welcome the class of 2022. Class of 2022, please take your seats. Class of 2022, please take your seats.
you. Out here, we graduated. We did number 2 already, so let's do number 3.
please rise for the President's Party.
I greet you with grace and peace, and I welcome you to Stanford University's 131st Annual Commencement. Here at Stanford, it is our tradition to begin communal celebrations with an acknowledgement of the land on which we stand and the peoples who have stewarded it for generations. Please welcome Emily Summer Elliott and Brentley Storm Sandlin, class of 2022, for this sacred recognition.
Halium. My name is Emily, and I am a member of the Chinook Nation.
Shio kuntili kanala aska gaska dagodoa jijalaginoli anikui. My name is Brentley, and I'm a member of the Cherokee Nation.
Stanford University sits on the ancestral lands of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. This land was and continues to be of great importance to the Ohlone people.
Consistent with their values of community and inclusion, we have a responsibility to acknowledge, honor, and make visible the university's relationship to Native peoples. Shki, thank you.
You may be seated. Some of you have already taken that direction. These folks are learning that still. In that spirit of honor and blessing that we have just heard, I invite us to be together. Poised at a crossroad between the past and the future, we pause. Not only to savor the sense of accomplishment and joy that is this occasion, but also to fix our eye on the horizon of life breaking before us. In the days to come, may we hold fast to the intellectual curiosity we have nurtured here, seeking knowledge and excellence not only for ourselves, but for the sake of the common good. May we build relationships marked by dignity and respect, cultivating diversity and expanding the radius of our empathy, that compassion becomes for us the very ground of our being. And above all else, may we seek to do more than simply survive. May we seek to thrive, to flourish, to grow in unexpected and unforeseen ways. Now more than ever, the world needs communities of hope and resilience to forge a new way. So may the fierce dedication and the patient perseverance that has brought us to this moment carry us forward to love the world and to change it. Amen.
Well, thank you, Dean Steinwert. "2022 graduates, Stanford faculty and staff, former and current trustees of our university, and cherished family members and friends. I thank you for joining us on this very special day to celebrate Stanford's 131st commencement. It is my great honor to warmly welcome all of you, whether you've joined us here at Stanford Stadium or you're participating via the live stream today. To those who are receiving degrees today, I offer a special welcome, our senior class members. And our graduate students. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Today we celebrate your accomplishments during your time at Stanford, and we look ahead with anticipation to everything you will do next. I'd like to begin by asking all of you to join me in thanking everyone who has made today's celebration possible, including the groundskeepers, ushers, event planners, and crew, as well as those who are working our cameras and the live stream to make it possible for us to share this celebration with those who can't be here in person. Thank you so much. Now, at commencement, usually our keynote speaker enters into the stadium with Provost Drell and me, and you may have noticed that this didn't happen today. Unfortunately, just yesterday, Reed Hastings tested positive for COVID. And so he isn't able to join us in person, unfortunately, but we're delighted that he's recorded his remarks and will address our graduates by video. And we will be hearing him on the screens above me in just a few minutes. We're also delighted that Reed is watching the live stream, and he just sent me an email which I will read to you. Watching on the live stream, and my heart is breaking, I'm not there with you. Please give the class my love. And I want to say, Reed, on behalf of everyone here, we send you our love as well as our best wishes for a speedy recovery. Now, I have to say, 2 years in, the pandemic continues to throw curveballs, but fortunately, we're all very practiced now at connecting over technology when we can't be together in person and pivoting when COVID interferes. 2022 graduates, we are so proud of all that you've achieved during your time at Stanford and of the hard work and dedication that brought you to today. Today, we will award 1,594 bachelor's degrees, 2,371 master's degrees, and 1,124 doctoral degrees. For those students who are receiving bachelor's degrees, 286 will graduate with departmental honors, and 275 with university distinction. 132 have satisfied the requirements of more than one major. Yeah. And 35 are graduating with dual bachelor's degrees. Wow. Yeah. 526 of our seniors completed minors, and 291 will graduate with both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. These numbers represent the hard work of students from around the globe. 272 members of our undergraduate class hail from 70 countries. And 106 countries are represented by the 1,475 international students who will receive their master's and doctoral degrees. All the numbers I've cited illustrate the tremendous accomplishments of Stanford's graduates and their potential to have a positive impact on our world. Now, graduates, during your time at Stanford, our faculty and our staff have dedicated themselves to nurturing that potential in each of you, and I want to take this moment to thank them for their ongoing support and encouragement. Thank you. Your accomplishments are also due, in part, to the dedication, to the loving encouragement, and to the extraordinary support of the family members and friends who have championed each of you in the years you've worked towards your Stanford degree. Many of those family members and friends are here today in the stands of our stadium, and others are watching this ceremony from around the world. They include your mothers and your fathers, your spouses and children, your siblings, your grandfathers, aunts and uncles, your mentors, and your peers. People who helped you along the way to Stanford and through your years at Stanford. And so I'd ask all of our graduates, seniors and graduate students, to join now in one of Stanford's cherished commencement traditions. Please rise if you are able. Please rise. Think of all those family members and friends who supported you on this special journey. Turn to your family members and friends if they're in the stands or watching from around the world. Okay. Okay. And please join me in saying these words to them. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. To the family members and friends of our Stanford graduates, I say thank you as well. Thank you for entrusting your loved ones to our university in their time here, and thank you for all that you have done to ensure their success. And now it's my pleasure to turn the program over to Stanford's Provost, Persis Drell, who will present the winners of the University Awards.
It is now my privilege and my pleasure to present the following prizes: the Walter J. Gores Awards for Excellence in Teaching, the Lloyd W. Dinkelspiel Awards, the Kenneth Cuthbertson Awards, and the inaugural President's Award for the Advancement of the Common Good. Recommendations for these awards were considered by a committee of faculty, students, and staff. The Gores Awards were established by a bequest from Walter J. Gores, a Stanford alumnus of the class of 1917. And they recognize excellent teaching at the undergraduate and the graduate level. I would like to ask the recipients to come forward now, and I ask that you hold your applause until I have announced all of this year's award winners. The recipients of the 2022 Walter J. Gores Awards for Excellence in Teaching are Stuart Thompson, Professor of Biology, Matthew Clare, Assistant Professor of Sociology, and by courtesy law, and Juliet Woodrow, MS and BS candidate in computer science. On behalf of the university, I congratulate each of you for this recognition of excellence in your teaching. Now you get to applaud. Thank you. I would now like to ask the Dinkelspiel Award winners to come forward at this time. Lloyd Dinkelspiel's service to Stanford included the presidency of the Board of Trustees in the 1950s and was characterized by an enduring concern for the quality of undergraduate education. The recipients of the 2022 Lloyd W. Dinkelspiel Award for Distinctive Contributions to Undergraduate Education are Sharon R. Palmer, Senior Associate Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education, Gabriel K. Wolfenstein, Academic Advising Director, Office of the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education, Claire L. Rosenfeld, MS candidate in Management Science and Engineering and BS candidate in Computer Science, and Emma K. Smith, BA candidate in International Relations. On behalf of the university, I congratulate you for this significant recognition and of your contributions to undergraduate education. Thank you. Our next award is the Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Award for exceptional service to Stanford University. I would like to ask the Cuthbertson Award winner to come forward at this time. The award was established in 1981 to honor the late Kenneth Cuthbertson, one of the early architects of Stanford's long-range financial planning and development programs. The sole criterion of this award is the quality of the contribution that the recipient has made to Stanford. the recipient of the 2022 Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Award for exceptional contributions to Stanford University is Shirley J. Everett, Senior Associate Vice Provost of Residential and Dining Enterprise and Senior Advisor to the Provost on Equity and Inclusion. On behalf of the university, I congratulate you for this distinguished recognition of your exceptional service to Stanford. This year, we are pleased to present a new award, the President's Award for the Advancement of the Common Good. This award honors alumni who exemplify the university's mission and values and who demonstrate a commitment to learning, social responsibility, and ethical and effective service. I would like to ask the award winners, recipients to come forward. The inaugural recipients of the 2022 President's Award for the Advancement of the Common Good are Jimmy Chen, founder and CEO of Propel, and Kamara Phyllis Jones, 2021 to 2022 UCSF Presidential Chair. On behalf of the university, I congratulate you for this significant recognition of your contributions to the greater good of society. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Provost Drell. It's one of my great honors as Stanford's president to address our graduates on Commencement Day. Graduates, today we honor your achievements during your time at Stanford. Your years here have been marked by intellectual exploration, deep immersion in your chosen field, and extraordinary hard work, all undertaken during a time of great challenge. Today's ceremony marks the culmination of all you have accomplished at Stanford. We are so proud of you, and we celebrate you as you embark on the next stage of your journey. The first time I met with many of you was to celebrate Convocation on a very hot September day in Main Quad in 2018. That day, I described how you would begin to realize, during your years at Stanford, that life is not a straight path from beginning to end. It has twists, turns, and departures that you can't foresee. Little did I, or any of us, foresee those that would arise during your years here, as the pandemic closed our campus and forced us all to learn new ways of working together, of creating community, and of supporting one another during an extraordinary time. All of us learned a hard-won lesson in disruption and adaptability, in how our world can change in an instant, and in how every one of us is called on to adapt throughout our lives. When I think about the unexpected directions that our lives take, I often like to say that life is long and lived in chapters. Your life, and every life, has distinct eras. Some you will see coming, and others will begin suddenly and unexpectedly. Childhood is one, and your college years are another. This commencement marks the end of an important chapter as a trainee and the beginning of a new chapter out in the world. But you'll experience distinct eras throughout your lives and professional careers too. The career you begin right after college is not likely to be the one you have forever. In fact, I predict that the vast majority of you, if not all of you, will have multiple chapters in your professional life. You may begin a family, and parenthood and family life will be a new chapter. You may move to new places in our country or in the world. You'll enter eras of personal and career growth, of uncertainty, of caretaking, and of loss and sudden change. Those changes and evolutions will continue throughout your life, as will the sudden, unexpected twists and turns that are a part of every life. I'd like to tell you the story of Stanford alum Milt McCall, whose own path exemplifies the idea that life is lived in chapters. Milt was a talented student athlete. He played linebacker for the Cardinal from 1977 to 1980 as he earned his bachelor's degree in biology. Graduating in 1981, Milt signed with the San Francisco 49ers. That same week, he was accepted into Stanford School of Medicine. From 1981 to 1987, he played with the 49ers as an outside linebacker, including on 2 Super Bowl championship teams. In the off-season, he attended medical school here at Stanford, graduating with an MD in 1988. After completing his NFL career, Milt planned to devote himself entirely to medicine. But with a couple of months to fill before his residency was set to begin, he was offered a job at a medical device startup. He accepted, delaying his residency for what he thought would be a year. It ended up being nearly 30 years. Over those 3 decades in the medical device industry, Milt built a hugely successful career. He eventually became CEO of Gauss Surgical, which developed a real-time blood loss measuring device for operating rooms. Throughout all those years, Milt continued to make use of his medical license by volunteering at a free clinic in San Francisco. And eventually, he realized that he looked forward to his days in the clinic above all else. So after much thought and reflection, Milt stepped down as CEO, he left his career and returned to Stanford School of Medicine at the age of 56 to begin a residency in family medicine. It was hard work. Milt had been away from medical school for a long time, and he needed to put in extra time, accompanying doctors on additional rounds and studying in his spare moments. But he found it deeply rewarding. Milt completed his residency in 2019 with impeccable timing, just in time for the arrival of COVID-19. Throughout the pandemic, he has treated COVID patients in a community-based clinic at the Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, where he works with a traditionally underserved population. Or take the example of Sylvia Jones, an award-winning journalist from the class of 1993. Sylvia began her career as a TV news producer, covering everything from Nelson Mandela's first visit to the US, to 9/11, to President Obama's election. Then she entered a chapter of caregiving, first for her mother, who was diagnosed with a terminal illness, then for 2 young relatives whom she took in when they had nowhere else to go. Sylvia went from being single and unattached to parenting 2 children in almost an instant. When that chapter was resolved, for the first time in years, she had the space to focus on herself and what she wanted, and she realized that what she wanted was to write movies and TV shows. Sylvia applied to UCLA's screenwriting program and was accepted off the waitlist 9 days before classes began. So now, in her early 40s, she picked up and moved to from Chicago to Los Angeles. She figured she had no time to lose, so she knocked on every door in Hollywood she could think of. Today, she's an Emmy-winning writer and producer of TV shows like The Endgame, The Chi, and Cherish the Day. Milt and Sylvia's stories are wonderful illustrations of the idea that life is lived in chapters, and what inspiring chapters they have been. The important thing about these examples is this: we each have this ability to pivot through the years, to use our skills in new and different ways, to find new meaning, and to help solve the problems that our world faces. Let me be clear, each of you has that ability to pivot. I know, because each of you had to pivot as the pandemic upended your plans, yet you pushed through to complete your studies and graduate today. As the story of your own life continues to unfurl, I'm confident that each of you will adapt as our world changes and as your own priorities and goals evolve too. Reflecting on the examples of Milt and Sylvia, I'd like to offer you 3 thoughts about the foundation you've built here at Stanford and how that foundation will support you through the chapters to come. First is the importance of lifelong learning and of continuing to explore. In your years here, you've acquired the tools and skills to continue learning, exploring, and adapting as the world changes. You've learned to experiment with ideas, explore challenging issues, and test solutions to problems in every field. And beyond what you've learned in the classroom, you've used your skills to address real-world problems through hands-on service work. Like Milt, who kept up his medical skills through volunteer work, I hope you continue to use your skills and knowledge to serve your community. Beyond the fulfillment it will provide you, it will allow you to keep your skills sharp and to explore new ideas, now and in the years to come. That brings me to my second point. As you keep up your knowledge and skills, you should also continue to seek out different perspectives and hold space in your mind for competing views. Throughout your time here at Stanford, you've encountered a diversity of perspectives and engaged in conversations across areas of disagreement. It hasn't always been easy, but as you look beyond Palm Drive to the division and polarization that grip our country and our world, it's clear that this is a skill that our world desperately needs. The friends and mentors who you've met here at Stanford have broadened your perspective. As you enter the next chapter of your lives, I encourage you to continue to engage with many voices and to seek out discussion and debate. Honor your own values, but keep an open mind to learning from others' perspectives and continue to bring the best version of yourself to those discussions. Third, I urge each of you to imagine a brighter future and to figure out what your own unique contribution will be. Our world faces many challenges, from emerging and chronic diseases to disinformation to the climate crisis and geopolitical tensions. Each of you has the knowledge and the ability to rise to these challenges and to help transform our world for the better, for your own future and for the generations that follow. I know you're up to the challenge. I've seen it. As just one example, this spring I've been so proud of the ways in which the Stanford community has responded to the war in Ukraine. From our scholars at the Freeman Spogli Institute and across the university, who've played a major role in advising US policymakers and providing knowledge and insight into the conflict, to our Stanford students who worked with a local nonprofit to organize a shipment of more than $120,000 worth of medical and humanitarian relief to Ukrainian refugees in Poland. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia was another stark reminder of how the world can change in an instant, and how each of us, each of you, can contribute in ways big and small. So I encourage each of you to reflect on the challenges we face and to consider what your own contributions will be. Through the disruption of the last 2 years, each of us has had an opportunity to reassess our values and to reflect on what pursuits give us true meaning and fulfillment. So even as you celebrate all that you have accomplished, I urge each of you to take time to reflect and to ask yourself, how can I shape a future that reflects what I've learned about my values and priorities? And how can I help create a brighter future for my own community and for the world? As you take your next steps along your own path, you'll carry Stanford with you. The work you've done here will ripple forward through your life, propelling you through the early years of your career and providing you a foundation for a life of change and transformation. And that brings me to today's commencement speaker, and a true agent of change, Reed Hastings, the co-founder and co-CEO of Netflix. I've been speaking this morning about how life is lived in chapters, though in Reed's case, perhaps I should say that life is lived in episodes. That one took a while to sink in, didn't it? Yeah. And though it wasn't our plan, it's in some ways fitting that Reed is joining us on screen today. Reed, we so appreciate you recording your remarks at the 11th hour. Reed is an entrepreneur and philanthropist who exemplifies the ideas of disruption and of embracing adaptation and transformation. Since he co-founded Netflix in 1997, the company has revolutionized the entertainment industry. Launched as a company that mailed DVDs, Yes, for the recent graduates, it actually mailed DVDs. Netflix has proven extraordinarily nimble. It's pivoted repeatedly from its original model to streaming to content production. It's expanded from humble origins to be a household name in more than 190 countries. Reed graduated from Stanford in 1988 with a master's degree in artificial intelligence. He also served in the Peace Corps as a high school math teacher stationed in Swaziland. He's widely regarded for his insights on leadership and for his ability to empower his employees and cultivate a culture of innovation and creativity. Reed is also passionate about education and deeply involved in educational initiatives. He previously served on the California State Board of Education and currently serves on the board of several educational organizations. He's donated generously to scholarship funds for Black and Latino youth, including major gifts supporting scholarships at 3 historically Black colleges and universities. In all of his work, Reed brings bold ideas, a spirit of reinvention, and a dedication to finding better ways of doing things. He's shown that by pursuing big dreams and continuing to learn and refine your ideas along the way, you can, quite literally, transform our world. Please direct your attention to the video screens and join me in welcoming Reed Hastings.
Oh, hey. Sorry to be doing this remote. You know the COVID. Thank you and welcome to all the graduates, their families, their friends, the faculty and staff, president, board, provost, everyone. What a great day to come and celebrate. When I got the invitation, I had to wonder why me? And then I realized, oh, you probably want Netflix recommendations on what to watch. So Adam Sandler, new movie, Hustle, about breaking into the NBA, and Heartstopper, British teen romance, so sweet. And best of all, both are safe to watch with your parents this weekend. Now that we've got the important business over with, let's talk a little about how the world changes. The changes to the world since Stanford was founded have been tremendous, and it's only going to speed up. So that gives you a lot of opportunity and a lot of risk for you and humanity. As the world speeds up, will our wax wings melt? Or will we bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice? To think about that, let's look at the past. It seems to me the 2 most powerful drivers of change have been invention and stories. Inventions, meaning broadly all of science and technology, are the most obvious way society moves forward. Think about the agricultural hoe, the wheel, electricity, discovery of DNA, the internet. It's all amazing. Positive inventions, large and small, have improved our lives. And of course, there are some negative and destructive inventions like chemical weapons. But for the most part, inventions give us more light. I've always been drawn to inventions. Sometimes it hasn't really worked out. When I was a grad student here 35 years ago, it was the era of desktop computers. So our hands went back and forth between the keyboard and the mouse, the keyboard and the mouse. A lot of typos introduced. It was slow. And so I had a great idea. The foot mouse. I was going to build a company to develop a mouse for your foot so you play the desktop like you play a piano. Well, I almost dropped out of Stanford to do this. I was so excited. But then I got the prototypes. And it turns out your leg cramps after 20 or 30 minutes, and it's very dirty down there, so the mouse got pretty gross. So luckily, I stayed and graduated, like all of you. I didn't give up on new ideas, and 10 years after discarding the foot mouse, we started Netflix. At first, we mailed a lot of DVDs, but then streaming got fast enough to deliver content in seconds instead of days. And our business took off. And we were able to produce amazing series like Stranger Things and Squid Game. I know many of you will invent all kinds of things, from personal drones that transport you anywhere to robots with a sense of humor, maybe even the cure for the hangover. But I really hope that you focus on one area in particular, climate change. A lot of conversation around climate change is around reducing emissions from the rich world, which is something we need to do to buy us more time. But it only really buys us some time. Ultimately, using less of everything delays disaster. It doesn't prevent disaster. Moreover, people in poverty around the world, they need and deserve more energy, more steel, more cement, all of which emits a lot of CO2. The looming crisis, it can feel overwhelming, but I'm confident your generation will find a way to invent our way out of the greenhouse. We need better electricity storage and transmission for intermittent solar and wind. We need clean and safe nuclear. We need cost-effective green cement and steel and carbon capture technology and so much more. Green solutions need to be better solutions than their carbon-intensive predecessor. Just like electric cars today are now better than gasoline cars. There are thousands of inventors in this university, and we need all of you. 200 years ago, Malthus predicted mass starvation as the population grew. But we invented mechanized farming, hybrid seeds, fertilizer, and much more. Today, with a population 10 times larger than Malthus had, we have many problems, but food production is not one of them. Human beings invent their way out of crisis. Being in Silicon Valley, you're already very aware of the power of invention. The power of story, however, might be less obvious. You all know many stories, from Animal Farm to Silent Spring and perhaps Don't Look Up. But today, I'm going to talk about the broader notion of story, creative ideas that we mostly accept as fact and that have helped us cooperate at great scale to move humanity forward. When an eye for an eye of the Old Testament gave way to turn the other cheek from the New Testament, it was a huge moral advance and a reduction in violence. An old story was that governments derived their legitimacy from being descended from the king. And that gave way to governments deriving their legitimacy from the consent of the governed, which triggered the American and French and many other revolutions against the monarchy. And the stories continued to evolve. For example, the civil rights movement expanded the idea that all members of society deserve to have their voices heard. As historian Yuval Harari points out, money, corporations, law, many other aspects of modern life are just widely accepted stories. The dollar bill is not very useful as a piece of paper to write on or eat or burn, and yet we accept it as having value, and so it does. Humans are very adept at turning useful stories into accepted facts. Think about human rights. The more we believe that humans have rights, the more rights we have. We are working to expand the universe of human rights so that they get more widely accepted as fact. These are good stories, constructive stories. But like with inventions, the wrong stories can be incredibly destructive. For several centuries, it was very profitable for white society to evangelize the story that black people were subhuman and therefore could be enslaved. Nazism and the idea of the innate superiority of the Aryan people is a more recent falsehood which also led to untold human suffering. Recovering from these evil stories is a multi-generational effort. That's why any story we hear, especially when it is widely accepted, should trigger something else: doubt. Doubt is so important. Take time every day to examine different beliefs and stay skeptical. Doubt is an essential counterbalance to story, and one that we should keep developing as we struggle to be more independent thinkers and better human beings. My heartbreak is two stories in particular that my generation failed to fully develop, which is why I'm passing the baton to all of you. They're about equality and interdependence. When Karl Marx rejected the exploitative factories of the 1880s, his story was about replacing the bosses with the dictatorship of the proletariat, power to the people. Unfortunately, we came to learn that dictatorships of any flavor stifle human flourishing. We need a new story, around equality, something beyond Margaret Thatcher and Karl Marx, that bonds together the very lucky and less lucky. By very lucky, I mean those born beautiful, healthy, athletic, intelligent, empathetic, those born in peaceful countries to caring parents, and those who got bedtime stories read to them every night. Many of you, like me, have won several of these lotteries and have also worked hard to build on that luck. So what is the duty of the more lucky to the less lucky? In the natural world, it is zero. The lion feels no obligation towards the lamb. In the human world, it is much different. In the United States, we tell ourselves a story about rugged individualism, which encourages people to work hard and keep what they produce without the obligation to share much with others around the world. My generation did not find a new story that provides the moral backbone to an era of common prosperity for both the very lucky and less lucky. I hope you find such a story which changes human behavior towards each other. Another story my generation had only partial success in is the interdependence for preventing war. For almost 1,000 years, major European countries fought each other virtually nonstop. Then after World War II, the European leaders said, never again. They worked to tie countries like Germany and France together economically, the basic idea behind the European Union, and it worked. Today, the EU is not perfect, but it has succeeded at avoiding war in core Europe longer than ever before. France and Britain may squabble in football, but it's not the 100-year war of the 1400s. The story of European identity is a huge success. Now, on a global scale, this story fell flat. Leaders in my generation have been working to economically knit the whole world together through trade so that war between any two countries would be unthinkable. We worked so hard and we were this close to delivering to you a world of peaceful interdependence and without war. But as we've seen with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we failed. And now the world is decoupling into hostile blocs. Our story about how globalization inhibits war wasn't good enough. That's why it's up to your generation to come up with a better story about the connection between countries, one that is more powerful, more heartfelt than globalization. A story that can end war. Inventions and stories. One is about harnessing the natural world. The other is about harnessing the human spirit. One is about generating more power and prosperity. The other about generating large-scale human cooperation. Both are avenues for progress. Now at this point, some of you are probably thinking, this is all well and good, but I need some downtime. I just spent 4 years working my butt off. Can't I get a little time to Netflix and chill before I have to go out and save the world? The answer is, of course, yes. Which brings me to my final point. We all know the story of the tortoise and the hare. Some of you will be hares, getting your first jobs at Bain and Google and Goldman, curing your first disease or making your first billion by 30. I hope you stay grounded with all that early success. Others of you will be tortoises and start out slow. Maybe your path won't be clear, or you'll keep starting over in different areas. You'll read the class notes 5 years in and wonder about yourself for not doing as well as your classmates, and then you'll chastise yourself for thinking that way. Please, if you're a tortoise, embrace it. Collect experiences and wisdom that will serve you later on. Applaud your hare friends and their successes, but don't let it bother you. And when you are older, you will love each other more if you accept each other's different paths. I was more tortoise than hare. I didn't have my first romance until I was 20. After undergrad, I taught high school math for a few years in the Kingdom of Eswatini. And when I eventually made it to grad school here at Stanford, I was far behind my classmates, and I wondered why I had spent so much time in Africa. In hindsight, the challenges I faced as a teacher gave me the resilience and empathy to be a better CEO. I didn't start Netflix until I was 37. I didn't figure out the value of real honesty until marriage counseling made me realize how often I said one thing but did another. I learned, and Patty and I are celebrating our 31st anniversary this summer. My point is, if you're a tortoise, emotionally, economically, intellectually, artistically, or otherwise, don't despair. You have the rest of your life to create the inventions and stories the world needs. Michelangelo talked about releasing a statue from a block of marble, as if the statue had its own destiny, and he was simply its handmaid. I think of ideas in the same way. They have their own destiny, and our job as handmaids is to help these ideas burst out of their marble block. Graduates, carve your marble blocks until you release the invention or story that is yearning to breathe. I know you can do it. You grew up on the farm. Congratulations, class of 2022.
Well, thank you so much, Reed, for those wonderful remarks. Please join me in another round of applause for Reed Hastings. And now, will the provost please present the candidates for degrees?
Mr. President, first, I have the honor to recognize all those who have completed the requirements for master's and doctoral degrees. They will be presented to you by the deans of their schools.
Will the candidates from the School of Engineering please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Science, Engineer, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Whittam. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Engineering please be seated?
Will the candidates from the School of Law please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Doctor of Jurisprudence, Master of the Science of Law, Doctor of the Science of Law, and Master of Laws.
Thank you, Dean Martinez. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates of the School of Law please be seated?
Will the graduates from the Graduate School of Education please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Schwartz. Thank you, Dean Schwartz, and may I congratulate you on that enthusiastic response. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the Graduate School of Education please be seated?
Will the candidates from the School of Humanities and Sciences please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Liberal Arts, Master of Science, Master of Fine Arts, Doctor of Musical Arts, Masters of Public Policy, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Satz. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Humanities and Sciences please be seated?
Will the candidates from the School of Earth, Energy, and Environmental Sciences please stand if you're able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Science, Engineer, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Graham. And on the occasion of your final commencement as Dean of the School of Earth, Energy, and Environmental Sciences, please accept our thanks for your years of service to Stanford University. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Earth, Energy, and Environmental Sciences please be seated?
Will the candidates from the Graduate School of Business please stand if you are able? Well done. Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts in Business Research, Master of Science in Management, Master of Business Administration, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Well, thank you, Dean Levin. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
graduates from the School of Business, please be seated.
Will the candidates from the School of Medicine please stand if you're able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Science, Doctor of Medicine, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Minor. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Medicine please be seated?
Mr. President, have we forgotten anyone?
I don't think so, Provost Drell. Oh, wait, I hear something. Do I hear anything? The undergraduate degrees, of course.
Of course, that's right. Now, Mr. President, I have the honor to recognize all those who have completed the requirements for undergraduate degrees. Will the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Arts and Science please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the Bachelor of Arts and the Bachelor of Science degrees and the Bachelor of Arts and Science degree.
By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon each of you the bachelor degree and admit you to its rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations!
Will the graduates please be seated?
Again, 2022 graduates, on behalf of Stanford University, congratulations to you on this very, very special day. You have graduated from the family of Stanford students, and you have joined the family of Stanford alumni. From this day forward, wherever you go in the world, whatever path you explore and whatever contribution you seek to make, you will remain forever cardinal and forever a part of the Stanford community. Graduates, you have persevered through an extraordinary and challenging time. Now is the moment to take what you've learned about yourself and about our world and use that knowledge to shape the life that you want to lead. As the book of your life unfolds, I urge each of you to engage in lifelong learning and exploration, to seek out diverse perspectives, and to use your knowledge and your skills to address our world's challenges. I believe in your ability to create a brighter future as you build your own life of meaning and purpose. Congratulations, class of 2022! And now, I please ask that you stand, if you are able, for the Stanford hymn and the benediction.
In my tradition, when a person is learning a sacred text and completes it in its entirety, they recite a prayer called the Hadran. This prayer is a love letter to both the text and the person who completed it. I love this prayer because it emphasizes the learning is an unending and continuous partnership between the person and the subject matter. Just as you have been changed by the lessons and knowledge you have learned here at Stanford, Stanford has been transformed by your presence and your engagement. And so as this chapter in your book of life ends, I offer you this blessing inspired by the Hadran, the prayer from my tradition. Hadran alach v'hadrach alan. May you be blessed to return to the lessons you learned, the friendships you forged, the new things you tried, the fantastic failures you let become your teachers, the new talents you uncovered, the discoveries you celebrated, the questions with which you wrestled, and the values you honed. And may they be blessed to return to you. Da'atan alach v'da'atach alan. May your thoughts be emboldened, expansive, inventive, inspired, and evolving. Lo nitnashe minach velo titnashe minan. May you never forget that even when things change, when the unexpected occurs, when the ground shifts, and you are confronted with the twists and turns, and all of life feels beyond your control, may you never forget that you are enough, just as you are. You matter, and we will not forget you. May you be blessed to go forth in justice, in kindness, and in humility. Amen.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.